Hello. In this video, what we're going to take a look at is creating a bar graph with error bars using Google Sheets. So in a separate video, we've taken a look at how we can come up with the descriptive statistics for our two sets of data. In this case, we're looking at salivary cortisol levels taken in fall of 2022 in our human physiology course, samples taken from the AM and samples from the PM for each student. We can calculate our descriptive statistics down here in terms of the average and the standard deviation. We did a t-test showing that our values are significantly different from one another. The next thing we're going to want to do is to start to graph this out. And so I've got the data here, and so I've got the AM and the PM headers. I've got the data labeled as average and standard deviation. We already know it's going to be significant. And so what we want to do is create a graph for this. And so what I'm going to do is make a new page. So I'm going to click on the plus, add a sheet down here at the bottom. Then I'm going to go back and just simply highlight and select. So I'm holding the left mouse button down and highlighting the headers for what the different types of data are, and then the average and standard deviation. Right click on this to go copy, clicking then onto sheet 2, and I'm going to paste this in so that I've got the values to work with. So to start out with, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the data that we are going to want to use as the basis for our graph. And so we've got the numerical values for the average here for our AM and PM samples, as well as the AM and the PM heading labels for these columns. We've got the information highlighted. We're going to go up here to Insert, down to Chart, and we click on this. And what we get is a fairly good chart to start with, but we can make it better. So the first thing in modifying our graph is that we want to identify both the X and the Y axes. So what we're going to do, click on it, so we highlight our graph here, right click on it, it's going to pop up this window here, which is going to help take us to the chart editing menu. We're going to go to chart axis titles, and we're going to start out with the horizontal axis title. Click on this, pops up the chart editor over here on the right hand side. We're looking at chart and axis titles, horizontal axis title, and what we're going to do for our title text is we're going to do time of day, and we're going to make this a little bit bigger. So we're going to click on this and maybe make it 18. Within this still chart and axis title, we want to adjust our vertical axis, so our y-axis. So we're going to click on that. In this case, we're going to put salivary cortisol levels, and it's in nanograms per mil. So we're going to put that in place. And again, let's make that a little bit larger. Let's see if we can get it 18 as well. It's a little bit too large there. So we're going to make our graph a little bit taller. So we're going to grab the square down here, make it a little bit taller so that the entire legend can the figure legend can be present there. And then this title, the text title, chart title, isn't quite what we want. It's giving us all of the data that we had highlighted there. So let's change that. And so we're going to have salivary cortisol levels taken at different points in the day. And we still have our nanograms per mil, so we're going to get rid of that because it's already on our y-axis. Click on that, and you can see that we've got it pretty much where we want it. The title's in pretty good shape. We're going to get down here to the alignment, and we're actually going to center this above that. Then we're going to take a look at the figure legend itself. So click on that so we highlight it. Whoops. We're going to move that. This now opened up the legend within our chart editor. Again, we're going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Let's make it maybe 16 in this case. And so we can include it like that. And then again, identifies our AM and our PM samples. Move that out of the way slightly. And then finally, what we want to do is add in the Y error bars, so the standard deviation for the values that we are working with. Now, this is going to be a little bit more complicated in Google Sheets than it is in Microsoft Excel. And so we're going to click on our data series. Oops, go back to customize here. So if you click on this once, we're going to select both of these. We're going to click on it so that what we end up with is series popping up here. We're going to do the AM series first. We're going to pull down, so just scroll down in this to where we get to the error bars. And for error bars, what we want to do, not a percent, because we're not allowing it to calculate it specifically from the data. So similarly, we can't do standard deviation because we're not having it calculated from the data. We've already calculated our descriptive statistics. What we're going to do is go with a constant. And so if we click on constant here, we're going to put in a constant being 2.6. And that again, 2.6 there. And we can see that we put that in place. Now this is pretty good. We can see that. Maybe a little bit narrow, so let's make this line a little thicker. So instead of 2, let's see if we can go 4, see if we can go 8. That's that. And so we added the error bar onto our AM sample. We now need to add our error bar onto our PM sample. So again, click on this so that you are picking up the series over here within the chart editor. Go to make sure that we've back to customize the PM sample. So click on this. We're not doing the AM now. We're doing the PM. We're going to scroll down to the point where we get error bars. And again, what we want to do is change this from a percent or standard deviation to a constant. And the constant we're going to put in here, and again, this is the constant at 10, which is making it so large. We want to add in 5.2. And so we're going to go 5.2 there. And that has now narrowed our error bars. Again, this line thickness looks a little thin to me. I'm going to bump this up to 8 points. Maybe it got thicker, maybe it didn't, I'm not quite sure, but this is how you would do that. And so we've got a pretty good graph right now. And so we've got the time of day. We're indicating that we're looking at the average. We've got values for the AM and the PM samples. We've identified our y-axis. Our scale is looking pretty good. And so we're going from 0 to 25 here. We've got a figure legend saying that, again, see if I can grab this, saying the AM samples are blue, the PM samples are red. We've got a title up here at the top, so this is pretty good. About the only other thing that you might want to change is the y-axis scale over here. So you can go over here, double click on this, and again bring us our vertical axis. That vertical axis, if we want, again, maybe we want to make the font for the labels a little bit larger, make them 16, so that's bigger there. For whatever reason, maybe we want to do this on a scale of 1 to 50, and so we can do a maximum of 50 here. And you can see that it went from 0 to 50 here as opposed to 0 to 25, which we had previous. So we can put 25 in there again for our maximum. Returns us to what we want. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to, but you can change the minimum value here as well. So once we have the graph in the way we want, looking pretty good here, you can click on it so you can see the highlighted blue box around the outside. You can hit Control C, or you can click on this again, highlight our graph, and go up here to edit, copy, and then go into the document that you're working with. And so generally what I do, I don't want the graph to be at the absolute beginning or the absolute end of the document, just because it becomes difficult to edit around it. So I add a couple spaces in there and then put the graph in the middle. You can right click or Control V, paste. It's going to give you the option. You can either link to the spreadsheet, and so if you do this, you have the advantage that if you update the data or you make changes to the graph within the spreadsheet, it will be updated within your document. But the problem is that if you rename the document or if you move the document to a new location, you may lose that linkage. And so what I generally do is I paste it in unlinked. And so paste it in unlinked, click paste. And so now our graph is in our document. We're basically done, but we still need to put our figure legend below that. So in this case, it's going to be figure 1. And we would have something, take a look at my data, student salivary samples, student salivary cortisol levels were higher, and in higher I'm going to put 20.4 plus or minus 2.6, 20.4 plus 2.6 nanograms per mil. And then I'm going to highlight our plus button here and plus symbol and highlight it there. We're higher in the AM than in the PM. The PM, the values were 14.9, 5.2, 14.9 plus 5.2 nanograms per mil. And again, underline our plus there. And actually, I'm going to put they were significantly higher. 20.4 in the morning than in the PM. And basically, we're going to put our statistics value there, P less than, and our P value in our data was 0.004. And so I'm going to put less than 0.01 when I describe this, P less than 0.01. And so we've got a good figure. We've got a title. Our X and our Y axes are labeled. We've got our Y error bars in place. Good scale along our Y axis. We've labeled what the different columns are with our figure legend here, and we've color coordinated between AM and PM. And we've got a decent starting point of a figure legend underneath it, describing what it is that we want our reader or our viewer to see from the image that we've created. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a graph, a column graph, bar graph, within Google Sheets. Thank you, and have a great day.